Welcome back, everyone. Our first post 100th episode. We're covering Welcome to the Jungle today, aka The Rundown. Gentlemen, Jared, Gibbo, how are we? We've had a little bit of a sojourn, a couple of weeks. We've been off.
I'm just glad I didn't accidentally get the Jean-Claude Van Damme version because I almost bought that on PSN. Also called Welcome to the Jungle, and I think I'd even be more sad.
That's probably better.
I don't know. I never watched that one.
I believe it was on free-to-air not long ago, and I caught some of it.
The Jean-Claude
one, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It didn't look good in trailers. Anyway.
Before we get into it, what have we been watching?
Not a huge slate for me. There's a lot of volume, but not much variety.
Right.
Been keeping up to date with Better Call Saul on Stan, actually, not on Netflix.
Right.
It's really, really good. It's just so frustrating in this day and age to have to wait week to week to get
Is it
episodes, weekly releases.
You can binge the rest of it, but the new ones they drop as it hits in the States.
Yeah,
so.
okay, fair enough.
So it's a little bit hard, but it's a really good. And Better Call Saul's been a bit of a slower burn than Breaking Bad, but it's starting to really pick up in this one, and it's really well. Everything's just top notch. Okay. Really well written. Really cool characters.
Fring is he?
Fring's in now. Yep, Gus Fring's back.
2 episodes in or something?
Two episodes back now. He's just so good. Giancarlo Esposito is amazing.
He was fantastic.
The Ermin Trout character is just so interesting in this one too. It's really showing his startup, and then the legal stuff's kind of being less of a bore.
Will we see Walter White at some point?
I think they mentioned that. Yes,
it has to end up getting there. It does. The time frame we're looking at the moment, we've got the Mexican cartels are coming into it. It'd just be impossible for it. At least, even if you just saw him in the background with the hat and the jacket, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. When
there's going to be something for sure.
Up, they'll do something like that.
So that's really good. I just wish I could just punch it all out. Also, I've been binging the shit out of the Blacklist, the James Spader one.
James Spader one.
I watched the first 2 seasons a long time ago now, when it first sort of came out. Then just sort of didn't really get back to it, and I've just been sort of jumped right back into it, and it's really good. Spader's amazing. He's actually. For a TV show, I think he's kind of a little bit wasted maybe. They use him really well, but it just seems like he should be doing more. The fact that he's not in movies really is pretty surprising because he's friggin' awesome. That character probably really lends itself to his style as well, but it's a really good show. And there's a lot of good writing in that one too. A lot of good story intricacies that are pretty interesting. And that was pretty much all I was doing on the TV side. And then I only really caught one movie of note, which was Passengers, Jennifer Lawrence.
I heard that was...
It's really good to look at. It's a really cool looking movie, and it's obviously got some issues with the subject matter. There's a lot of people this got the whole date rapey thing sort of going on.
Yeah.
I think the movie actually addresses that pretty well though, because she is properly pissed about it she's really pissed about it for a while, and then they both end up in a life-threatening situation where she sort of has to work her way around, and of course it's Hollywood, there's a happy ever after sort of bullshit to the end of it, but it's a tough subject matter to cover. But I just can't see, if you're in his situation, I can't see you not doing the same thing. So I don't know, this probably makes me a terrible person, but I thought it was a good movie though.
I've known that all along.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's under any illusions.
No.
Anyway, I thought it was good though. I'm a big fan of both of them. Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence are both really good, and I think they've got a lot of chemistry, which you don't always get with these are the two A-listers, let's put them in a movie together. I think it worked pretty well, so it's definitely worth a look anyway. And that was pretty much it for me. Other than that, it's just been NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about that.
No. Jared's upset.
I'm upset too.
Coxie?
Yeah. All right. So I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Enjoyed it. More of the same. You know what you're getting. The biggest thing was they lacked the surprise factor now. You know what you're getting from these ones. And you get it in spades, but it's just not quite as good as the first one.
It's not the lightning in the bottle effect that the first one had.
No, exactly. And there's a couple of things that sort of don't work in a way. Like Batista is hilarious again as Drax, but he doesn't really do anything. And for me, I actually thought Star-Lord came across as a real jerk this time instead of being like the lovable rogue. Kurt Russell, great addition, and whatever they did with the de-aging CGI was just...
They're getting good at that shit now. Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. I was sitting there going, have they got a look-alike? Because this is freaky. Like, it's another step up from, Rogue One where they used some lighting and whatever shadows to cover a bit. But yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Beauty and the Beast. Saw that one with the kids. Not bad, not bad. Look, you know, it's you know what you're getting. It's not really all that much different to the animated.
I was going to say, it's basically just like a shot for shot, isn't it?
It's
way.
very, very similar. There's not a lot of changes, and it doesn't have something like the Jungle Book does that kind of, you know, has you thinking how they get all those animals in there and with the actors and, you know, splice it all together with all the effects and that. So, but yeah, worth a look. Hardcore Henry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that.
What's that like?
It's worth a look. It's got some absolutely incredible stunt work. And considering like it was all shot on GoPro, there's so many parts of it where you just think, I don't know how they made it look like that. Like you don't know how they got some of the effects to work. But its biggest strength is also its biggest weakness. Like the whole first person shooter angle, the fact that it never sort of strays away from that. Sometimes it looks incredible. Like there's parts where he's doing parkour or chasing someone and it's fucking unbelievable. Like it looks awesome. But then there's other parts where there's like characters in there having a bit of back and forth and you kind of like, I can't even see this dude's face because it's kind of too far away and you kind of want to take control like in the game where you can go up and walk closer, but you just, you know, you just stuck with that.
Ride. Yeah.
And the main villain sounds remarkably like Tommy Wiseau. So that's really weird. It's definitely worth a look. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Sharlto Copley as well. He's, you know, pretty good value. Yeah, it's got definitely worth a look if you like action stuff. It's kind of a must see just for that gimmick, but it also restricts it a little bit. So it's not a great movie.
I started watching it and it was just pissing me off.
It does get frustrating at parts for sure. But yeah, there's definitely there is some parts that you really got to see to. Like, mainly the parkour, really. But there's a couple of really cool stunts in there. I watched Lights Out.
In the daytime?
I watched it at night.
Ooh.
So I kind of, you know, I had to tuck under the sheets a little bit. No, it wasn't bad. The whole thing's built around visuals. You know, the story was pretty thin that they went to go along with it. It was just sort of, it did the job. Yeah. Didn't really add a whole lot to it. Yeah, when they got the visuals right, it was really cool, but it was only very briefly that they did that. So it's kind of like the same ballpark as The Conjuring, but nowhere near as effective. Just not as good in general.
The trailer looked good. So.
Well, when you've seen that sort of stuff 1,000 times now, like since The Conjuring came out, we've now had 20 movies that have done the same thing. Of course, it's basically, you know. It's very difficult to wring a lot more out of it. Yeah,
look, I'm not going to lie. I jumped once or twice. It did get me with a couple of those visuals, but overall, it wasn't a scary movie.
Right.
I'm up to the end of season 2 of Better Call Saul, so I ripped through some more of that. Gibbo's right. I think the Mike Ehrmantraut is becoming the real kind of star for me. Like,
he's definitely got more gravity than James does at this. At this point.
And like you like that story and how it's coming about, but Ehrmantraut's got some really compelling shit going on. So yeah, I really like that. I watched the first episode of OJ, the
People vs.
OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
Not bad. But the first episode really seems like they're just reminding you of what went on. Like it's got the cops walking around his house going, "Oh, look what we found here. We'll check this out. This is Mr. Simpson's here. When we spoke to him on the phone, he did this. We did like it almost sounded like a police sort of report. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I caught some Justice League action, which is the new cartoon. I watched it with my son. Pretty cool.
Sure you did.
Pretty cool. Oh, look, mate, I was going to check it out regardless, but he was keen, so it was just an excuse, really. But yeah, it's interesting. They've split it. It's basically 10-minute stories, so kind of interesting. They've done some. It's got, you know, Paul Dini for one is one of my favourite writers. They've got him back. They've got a couple of the old voices back, like Mark Hamill's back doing the Joker and that sort of thing. So pretty interesting. And the last one was I started watching season 3 of Hannibal, and I'd watched season 1 and 2 as they went, and I absolutely loved it. So now that it's all wrapped up, and I've recently got onto Stan's got it, so I jumped onto season 3, and it's really intense. It's a really deep show. Like the relationship between Will Graham and Hannibal is. I mean, sometimes I'm just watching it going, fuck, what's happening there? Like, there's all this psychological babble going on, and it's a really good show. And I'm getting into controversy corner, which is usually your angle, but
right.
I actually think Mads Mikkelsen might be the best Hannibal.
Really?
He's fantastic. He's really
an Oscar
big fan, but that's a huge call.
You've got to check it out because he gets 3 seasons to flesh this out.
Yeah.
I
pardon the
guess
pun there, but
I guess that's probably what hurts Anthony Hopkins.
Well, he had 12
Yeah.
minutes.
yeah,
The
exactly.
12 minutes in the first film.
And
one
the other
hour
thing
before.
too is
Yeah.
they're up to Red Dragon.
Yeah.
This season is where they get into Red Dragon / Manhunter.
Yeah.
Now Manhunter was really good, but it didn't have Anthony Hopkins, and Red Dragon was put.
Yeah.
So Anthony Hopkins,
At quite fine.
Anthony Hopkins didn't get to go where Mickelson
Yeah,
gets
Mickelson's
to.
gonna go, yeah.
They've also got Mason Verger,
Yeah.
who's that fucking
Hamburger
that
face.
thing that Gary Oldman was,
Yeah,
was playing in Hannibal.
Hannibal.
So they get to go into depth with some of these angles that were done poorly,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Hopkins got screwed because the first movie's so good and then the
Yeah.
subsequent sequels are bad.
But it's very different too because Hopkins is fantastic in that first one, but as you said, it's very small screen time, and it's like this one is a psychological drama that's got 3 seasons to go right into the character, and so Mickelson gets a chance to really get stuck into it, and I think body of work he might have the top spot for me.
I've looked at it 1,000 times and I've just never given it a crack. I might have to.
It's
check it
good.
out.
It's definitely worth it. The guy that plays Will Graham, Hugh Dancy,
yeah.
he's fantastic as well. Really reminds me of what's his face in Manhunter, Grissom. I can't remember his real
William
name.
Peterson.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him, but has the same kind of demeanour. But yeah, it's definitely, especially if because you go for that psychological sort of stuff, so it's probably right up
trying
your
to
alley.
say?
Well, more the psychological than the slasher.
Closet
kind of
serial
thing.
killer, Daniel, apparently.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, I had one more. I tracked down a comic, Jason vs. Leatherface.
Oh, shit.
You proceeded to read it, wipe your ass with it.
I did. You know what? It was actually considering what.
Choose your words carefully.
Jason, you've got Jason versus Leatherface. How are you going to do this? It actually works all right.
Yeah.
Because it's someone like ends up dredging Crystal Lake or whatever. So of course Jason's at the bottom, and he comes across the Sawyer clan in the middle of a kill. But the bloke runs up to Jason and Jason kills him. So the dickhead Sawyer brothers are like, "You're all right, son. I can come and have a feed with us."
Oh,
Jesus.
Okay.
What? It's kind of funny in that sense. So yeah,
Kind of nonsense.
if you're interested in either of the characters to
It's
that
worth a look.
extent, you might want to check it out.
Sounds like it's for you only, Coxie.
No, it's good. Check it out.
Adzi?
That's it?
Yeah, that's
All
good.
right. I watched a couple of the top 100 films on IMDb. My daughter's keen to punch through some of that.
God, you're an artist.
So I watched Saving Private Ryan. Loved it. It's just,
Still good.
That first 40 minutes is just absolute. The logistics of shooting that sequence alone would have been hard. Pulp Fiction. Caitlin loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Well, fucking lucky. It's a top fiver.
Like, my wife was just going, "This sucks," and I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
And then she's looking for Caitlin to back her up, and Caitlin's like, "Yeah, she's on the edge of her seat." And they're talking about pot bellies at one point, you
Yeah.
know? And she's just like, "What's going
Yeah,
to
she's,
happen
do
next?"
you like my pot belly?
Yeah. She loved it. She loved it. And then we watched American Beauty. That's not
Tough
good.
sell.
I've
That's
never
not a
understood
top
that one.
100er for me.
Nah,
it's a
fuck
good
no.
film, but it's just nothing special. Like,
It's just one of those ones that just sort of seemed to everyone was like, oh, this, you got to see this. And then
Kevin
no one
Spacey
knew why.
is great.
Yeah, of course.
He's just fantastic in it.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is just kind of meh,
Yeah.
you know?
I never understood that one.
I also caught the first episode of Riverdale, the one on Netflix.
Archie.
Surprisingly, pretty good.
Yeah, I
Like,
heard
they've
it's
taken
alright.
it in a really interesting direction. It's contemporary. They've taken it in a contemporary place, but they've sort of
Is
darkened
there a
it up.
mystery angle?
Yeah.
Is it- yeah.
And there's kind of like a Twin Peaks feel.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like Twin Peaks. I thought the first episode was good. And I think I'll probably follow through to check a few more out, just see if it's
Stick
any
with
good. I finished Banshee, season 4. Jeez, that went off the rails.
You're not pulling a good face.
It went right off the rails, mate. It just
Not even
got-
Batman could save
It
it.
just became convoluted as hell. And the only good thing about the last season was Eliza Dushku pops up
Oh,
for 5 episodes. Stint as like an FBI agent who's a
That'll
massive
work.
druggo. And, you know, she does what she always does with these sorts of roles, tough, sort of, sassy type of
street
character.
boys, sort of, yep.
And it kind of works. She's always good and always good to watch. But the show just lost its way. It just got all convoluted, and by the end of it, I couldn't wait for it to finish.
Yeah.
I just had to see it through.
Damn completist nature.
Yeah.
I watched Arnie's comeback film, The Last Stand.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad, but
He's a
Jesus,
sheriff.
Arnie, There's a lot of miles on it. There's a lot
You
of
want to talk about
miles.
Leatherface?
Look, Arnie's got a well-worn head. That's it.
He does.
But there's a sequence right at the end where he basically fights this guy.
On the bridge.
Stop. That is laughable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely laughable. That guy would have kicked his ass up and down that bridge.
Yeah.
And probably just come back to kick it again.
Yeah, just for
something to
fun.
do.
Yeah.
Probably stick to the weapons.
Yeah.
Weapons these days.
It
though.
should have just been a shootout.
Yeah.
But look, it was all right. I also watched a 80s Clint Eastwood flick that I'd never seen before called Tightrope.
Tightrope.
Anyone seen Tightrope?
Doesn't ring any
Heard of
bells.
it,
It's kind of like Dirty Harry.
Oh,
Like,
shock
he's,
me.
He's a cop, but he's kind of a scumbag.
Does he play by his own rules?
He's not into playing by his
What do
own
you mean he's
rules.
kind of a
He's-
scumbag? Dirty Harry was a scumbag.
Dirty Harry was a scumbag with a conscience. This guy's into S&M and weird sex.
Jesus
and shit.
Christ.
Says
And
a
he's
legend.
He's on that. Of course you'd be interested.
Who's the female lead in? Is it his missus from the period? 'Cause
No, she
If
wasn't.
I have to look at her face
Sandra
ever
Ross.
again,
No.
I seriously can't do it.
It wasn't bad.
He
And
probably
Eastwood
blacklisted
actually,
her by that point.
Eastwood actually does a bit of acting instead of just doing his Dirty Harry shtick.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's actually, he's a scumbag, but he's also not much of a cop. He's kind of a pretty average detective, and he's a bit of a loose cannon.
So
as
Steven
well.
Seagal.
Not quite.
No, I mean in real life.
The last thing I watched, I went and saw Get Out
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
cinema.
I did too. Forgot about that.
Really enjoyed it.
When you said lights out, I thought of Get Out.
Get out. Yeah.
Get Out's supposed to
Really
be-
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's got this really unsettling quality about it. It's not that scary in terms of they throw a few jump scares in there, you know,
Yeah, of
like
course.
you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just this atmosphere that they create. You just start sitting there thinking, what the bloody hell's going on?
It's
You know,
got
look,
you
what-
out of kilter.
out, out of what you would normally expect. It comes across as really sort of serious, and then they just have this particular character who's just pure comic relief, and you think it's not going to work. Like it's the moment he opens his mouth, I thought to myself, "Oh, this is going to be off," but he just nails it.
Yeah, he was awesome.
The comedy's hilarious too. He's just acting.
Well,
like
that's their wheelhouse. It's
Oh,
the fact
yeah.
that they can pull off a horror movie that everyone was surprised.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely worth checking out.
You know, the whole thing about the race angle.
Yeah, yeah,
It actually does have something to say. It's
Social
very
commentary,
interesting,
Yeah, and that was kind of well handled. I thought.
Really well handled.
Considering you'd expect it to be very much a in your face type of thing,
Mate, Blumhouse just
and they did it really
knocked it out
well.
of the park again. Just find someone good with something
Interesting to put
make
out there and
say
there you go.
here's a limited budget. If you can get it done for that, we're hands off.
Yeah.
You know, Danny McBride. You listen to the
I
same
did
podcast
listen
about
to it,
Danny
yeah,
McBride
yeah.
and Halloween, and it just reiterated all that. He said exactly that. He said they liked the pitch, and then they let you go. They let you give you creative freedom. So.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in seeing what they do with that. But that was it for me.
Interesting slate, guys.
Yes.
Bit of
All
everything.
right.
Can we get more Clint Eastwood and S&M next week? It's sort of
I'll see what I can dredge up.
I was disappointed there wasn't any suicide documentaries in your.
No.
wheelhouse.
you're always good for one or two.
Always bringing it down.
I'm trying to sort of be a more up vibe with S&M films involving Clint.
Probably the best if you're watching it with your daughter. Maybe steer clear of that shit.
You know, it was close enough to be the old one where your wife walks in, you go turn it off. No, just what was that?
Oh, it was an infomercial.
Oh look, I taped something else last night. And
You're so embarrassed by what you're watching, you actually just say, "Oh, it's porn."
It's not what you think. It's porn.
All right, well, let's take our break. And here's the trailer for Welcome to the Jungle.
The rundown.
One job, I wipe your slate clean. You walk out of this house a free man.
How much?
250 large.
No problem.
He's come to the other side of the world
Is that duct tape?
to finish one last job.
I'm looking for a man. His name's Travis Walker. Brown hair, face like a weasel.
Do I know you?
I'm taking you home, Travis.
What's in Los Angeles?
Your father.
So angry! Shut up.
If only it were that simple. Apparently, he stumbled onto a trinket of some value in my jungle. Yep.
I want it back.
Wow.
Whatever my father's paying you, I will double it.
No.
I'll quadruple it.
No.
I'll double it and quadruple it.
Hell no.
I hope you enjoy the fall.
Now what fall? Let's go.
Heads up. Oh, you like a little birdie up there. Caw, caw.
Shut up.
Well, you always got to hit me.
We gotta get to this tree.
Got it?
I got it. Great.
Oh, what is he doing? Establish dominance. Establish dominance.
I want hunting parties. Find them.
Find them.
I do not want to fight you. We are not fighting.
Okay, hip-hop.
Don't worry, they're little people.
What?
You can take them, they're little.
Boom, 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 boom.
You guys fight hard.
That's a lot of cows.
Welcome to the jungle.
You got the moves. I'll give you that. Ow!
Welcome to the Jungle, aka The Rundown, from 2003. It's directed by Peter Berg, who did Lone Survivor and Hancock. It's produced by Mark Abram, Bill Corliss, Karen Glazer, and Kevin Misher. Now, Mark Abram was responsible for the RoboCop remake.
Thanks,
Don't
mate.
know whether...
Hopefully he's been murdered since then.
Screenplays by R.J. Stewart, big hitter in the industry with Major League 2 and Zeta Warrior Princess.
Oh, shit. Lucy Lawless, where are you now?
And James Vanderbilt, who actually did write some pretty decent screenplays like Zodiac.
Just to answer your question, she's on Ash vs Evil Dead.
Yeah, true, yeah, she is, yeah.
Last time I saw her was on
Still
that,
looks bloody good, too.
that Gladiator thing or whatever it was. On did I
the
told you guys
Sword and
about?
Sandal one.
Basically, and all she does is walk around nude in it. It's disgraceful.
What's it called?
No, she's in good
Spartacus.
shape. Spartacus, yeah.
Blood and
No,
sand,
she's not. It's just the whole thing is
The
just
show's
nudity.
disgraceful.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's not disgraceful.
Well, there's a certain level, and that one's just out of.
Focus, people. Focus.
Sorry.
Go, Lucy.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson stars as Beck.
When he was still called The Rock back then, too, yeah.
I believe this is executive produced by Vince McMahon.
It is. It is. Yeah, he's on the credits.
Sean William Scott is Travis, Rosario Dawson is Marina, and Christopher Walken is Hatcher. The budget was $85 million, and the box office was $80 million. So
That's a big budget for this.
I didn't realise it was that high.
yeah,
Where'd the money go?
somebody fucked the pooch there.
Is the whole
Yeah,
thing a
that
fake
didn't go
forest,
well.
maybe? They didn't actually go to the Amazon. They're in New Jersey.
This project was originally for Stephen Summers to direct, the guy who did The Mummy. So I'm not sure what that would have turned out to be. Okay.
Just take.
Okay. Gibbo. General thoughts, mate.
General thoughts. Well, this is one of those movies when you came to me and said, we'll do an early rock movie, we'll do Walking Tall. I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit sensible.
Are you like me? Wish you had a
I'm still dirty on you for that one.
Walking Tall wasn't bad.
I still
but
think Walking Tall's better. so-
it's a better movie for sure. I would say it's less entertaining though. This is quite entertaining. You have to leave your brain at the door. And there's some
Fucking stop
horrendous.
on the way into-
There's some horrendous acting in this, like really, really bad. But there's also some really good shit. The Rock, obviously, like 14 years ago. That's I can't believe it's that long ago. He looks the same, just not quite as veiny. He's got so much fucking charisma. He's really good in this for what he's supposed to be. Can't act yet. I don't know that he can now, but I really like this. Yeah, there's obviously some big problems, but it's one of those movies when you watched it a long time ago, you're like, fuck, this is amazing. This is the best movie ever made. And then you watch it now and you're like, oh. That's exactly the sound I sort of made a few times. There's some, and now that like watching a lot more movies and stuff, you sort of realise some of the tricks they're trying to pull with things and some of the bits where they're being really lazy, and it just drags it down. But you have a good time if you don't give a shit.
What are we
basically.
talking here from you?
Are we scoring it?
5, yeah.
Are we scoring it? Oh. Maybe 3.
Solid. I'm totally in agreement with you. It's super entertaining. It is a leave your brain at the door. Just with regards to your brain, Jared, and stepping on it. You stepped on it, left it there. Didn't pick it up.
But that was 20 years ago.
Hang on. This is coming from the people that are dishing out threes to Welcome to the Jungle. So just watching
Look,
comments there.
I don't disagree that I left it so back then. I just love it. I found it entertaining. It's plotless.
Yeah.
It's basically plotless. But The Rock, yeah, you're right. I mean, I didn't think he was too bad, to be honest, acting-wise. He does trade on his charisma. And
He's not the worst in the show. Don't get me wrong. He's not the worst fucking problem here with acting-wise.
There's a couple of really, really good action scenes. And they mix up the fighting a little bit, which is what I liked. Overall, I'm a bit like you. 3 out of 5. Jared.
Come in spinner.
No, I'm not too far off that. It's enjoyable. It's a bit of fun. It's forgettable, basically. Gibbo forgot all about it. Remembered it as being good. No, it's exactly what you guys said. You know what you're getting, especially that it's been at this point The Rock was still a wrestler, basically, who was making a transition. So you knew what you were getting. You weren't getting Die Hard.
You weren't even getting white out.
So, but you got a bit of fun. You got a few decent action sequences, and you pretty much got what you came to see. But at the end of the day, it's probably a 2.5 for me. It is. It's like KFC, mate.
You feel good during it, and you feel dirty afterwards. Maybe you should go stick your finger down your throat.
It's kind of it just leaves you a little bit. You finish it up and you're like, yeah, enjoyed that.
Basically, it just goes straight through you. Like
I'm going to the toilet.
If it hadn't been for The Rock, because he's just great. Even though he can't act, he's perfect for this sort of stuff, and I think he has gotten better.
Definitely.
It reminds me, you know what? It kind of, for me, it was a mixture between Indiana Jones and Commando.
I was going to say Commando, yeah.
It reminded me of Commando.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was actually going to make a comparison to Raw Deal and say, you compare Arnie's acting and The Rock's acting, it's pretty similar because they're not great performances.
They both did have a lot of charisma, though. Yeah.
That's like comparing apples and shit.
I've got to say though, Beck didn't have the same attitude to guns as Matrix did.
No.
Slightly different philosophies on that front.
Mate, Matrix was weighed down by weaponry.
Only temporarily.
All right, well, let's get into the likes, okay? I think it gets off immediately on a good foot with an Arnie cameo.
Oh, absolutely.
What does he say?
He just said good luck.
I think he says, it was good luck or have fun. Yeah, it was basically like a little passing of the torch.
Yeah, okay. Because I rewound it like 3 times trying to figure out what he was saying, and I couldn't get it.
Well, I had
it's his career in a nutshell.
I heard it, and I still had 2 options. Could have been either one. Good luck or have fun.
Arnie said something. Good.
But also, that was 10 years before The Last Stand. He still had a face like Death Valley Fire.
I thought he looked quite good.
He's like a battered Sav, mate. And it's overcooked.
It's 3-day-old battered Sav.
There's a lot of miles on it, that's all I'll say. The opening fight in the nightclub, I liked it in terms of the way he kind of dealt with those guys.
Yeah.
How it sort of starts off that he's kind of like, I'm a fan, and, he's trying not to antagonise it. But the moment, and they're a pack of pricks. And then the moment he gets the shits, he just really tags them.
Yeah.
There's a dislike to it, but I felt all round it was a reasonable way to start.
The whole football thing is actually quite clever because it makes him like, this guy's all right.
Yeah.
He's a decent bloke. He's coming across it, trying to handle this. He's not... He's a standover man, but you've got to try and... He's our hero.
Yeah, so he's trying to do it nicely.
Yeah. And the whole football angle is very relatable.
Yeah. And then what they do is they turn the footballers into pricks.
Well, which is, again, I was going to say, not hard to do. No one likes the NFL players.
So the whole audience goes, right, so, okay, he's a standover man, but these guys are flogs. So
and they deserve it.
They deserve a whooping. So I really did like that. And I thought, again, we're off to a reasonably good start here.
It's also your hero qualifier, too. The whole, he took out a whole fucking black... he took out everything. I don't mean black as in African American. I mean like a black tactical squad. Took the whole thing out, bare hands, that sort of shit. Yeah. This is him taking out a whole offensive line of an NFL team with his bare hands. Like that sort of stuff. So it's really good on that front. Like it lets you know that he can fucking handle himself.
Did you notice that again, because he was still a wrestler at this point, he did a rock bottom.
Yeah. Of course he
did.
Is it
Yeah.
perfect? Absolutely perfect.
I noticed all that. Not quite controversy corner, but the fact is, I actually think he's kind of underrated as an actor. I think he's all right in this. I think he's very much, mate. If you compare him to Schwarzenegger,
Oh, he's shits on him.
early Seagal, Van Damme, any of those guys.
As I
He
said,
would
my
shit
issue
all
with
over
acting
him.
in this is not with The Rock.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
I think
You know what you're getting, but I
you
think
give
he
him a
produces
pass.
enough.
You give him a pass because that's not his job. That's why you hire Christopher Walken. You know, like,
Was he acting?
You think Christopher Walken went, did you hire this guy? Did you hire this guy to act? No, we did, Christopher. That's
Yeah.
what you're here for.
But that's
oh,
the-
shit, I was
Is he,
I was
though?
punching him a ticket.
But this
He's
is
trying to act for both of them, I think.
but this is the thing: you hire
He's overacting for me.
Yes.
you hire the supporting cast to do that, and you let The Rock just do his best, basically. And then
But I actually think he does a
He's
pretty
not
good
bad.
best.
He's not bad.
yeah, I don't think he's. I said he can't act. So that's probably that's me just throwing out a statement. I actually think he's one of my favourites in terms of action stars. He's one of my favourites, and I think he's got enough to work with. He's not Chuck Norris working with the.
Well,
working with
in the
pictures
pantheon,
mix.
in the pantheon of like action heroes, I don't think anyone's better. Like, who's a better actor than him?
It depends. Like Stallone for me has delivered some excellent acting performances, but he took a long time to do that. Like I'm talking Copland, Rocky Balboa,
I think
Creed.
the thing about The Rock is Schwarzenegger can't give you anything like his best performances are.
A robot.
Okay.
I'm a robot.
Okay.
Hey, I can do it.
Stallone and Willis can both give you something that The Rock probably can't.
Actually, you're spot
Yeah,
on there.
Willis is-
Arnie's other great performances are Cold and Motionless. Cold and Motionless, bloody army bloke.
Do you know what I mean? Like those guys, those two, can give you a performance that The Rock probably couldn't. But he's not that
What
far
about Mel?
off.
So
to be
Mel
honest.
Gibson and Willis are probably in the same boat too, because they're not so much the action hero part. Like they were in action movies, but they weren't the whole muscle bound, fucking guns blazing everywhere sort of guys.
Yeah.
Willis is limited.
Yeah, he's limited, but the thing about Willis is when he gives you a good performance like Looper or Sixth Sense or one of those, it's a good performance.
Yeah.
The Rock
Yeah.
is close enough. I think you won't. I would not be surprised if The Rock, like Pain and Gain, he gives a pretty decent performance.
He's got a lot of
He's
comedy
excellent.
chops.
Pain and Gain, yeah.
So I reckon he's not far off producing one of those kind of performances where people just go, wow.
The comedy stuff you could see in his wrestling days too.
Yeah.
He would cut some promos that were
Piss
funny.
funny.
It was him in Get Shorty too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was
He's
good
only
in
a little
that.
bit past, but he's really
you
funny.
ain't woman enough to take my man and all that.
This is what I like about his career. He knows where his bread's buttered, but he also has just slipped slightly out of that to give you a couple of different performances that are interesting enough to say, well, if we gave him a dramatic part in a movie by Scorsese or someone like that, you would get really top class work from him.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Now you're getting into controversy corner.
No, but someone like Schwarzenegger, you couldn't do that.
No.
The greatest director in the world could not get that kind of performance from Schwarzenegger. That's what I mean. And I think
Yeah.
The Rock's good enough to do it. It's just about whether he's... 'cause
You obviously haven't seen Sabotage.
I have.
Yeah.
But what I mean is The Rock is... He knows that this is his bread and butter right now. It's super successful.
That was Sam Worthington really taking the leap too, was it?
Oh shit!
Well, he had one of those, rat's tails on his chin. That was about as far as character development went in Sabotage.
yeah.
We've gone off track, but the fact is,
Shock me.
the guy's got tons of charisma, and it works to a T here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely
definitely.
to a T.
Yep.
It's perfect for this film.
While we're talking about working to a T, then let's talk about Christopher's Walken, shall we? Because Christopher Walken's the fuck out of this movie.
I love this
Everything
shit.
he does with his little pot belly and his stupid
love
hat
it.
and his
Seriously.
little idiosyncrasies, he is hilarious.
He gets out of bed in the morning, rolls over and farts, and it's better than 90% of Hollywood can do.
Yeah, that's
basically.
right. That's right.
You can tell he's sleepwalking through this one, and it's awesome.
When he's on scene, you cannot take your eyes off him. Like he
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just, I don't know what it is. It's like he obviously talks in a very distinct manner, but just he's magnetic.
Yeah.
Like everything he's doing, you've got to watch him.
And the thing about Walken is, what I love about him is, he is absolutely no match physically for The Rock. Like
No.
he's the villain up against this huge big guy who physically would have just broke him in half. But they don't go down that route. So what they do is they put this. He's got this weird sort of menace about him.
Yeah, you
when he
absolutely
talks.
believe
Yeah.
that
He's Hans Gruber.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
He's the mastermind, but
yeah,
yeah.
but he's a bit of a lower tier sort of.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying the same.
Man.
I'm saying similar-ish.
But I guess what I mean is he's got no business being in a blue with him, so they just keep it out of there. But they just give him this stuff where he kind of makes you feel a bit. There's a menace to him, and I think it works really well.
But it's funny, like when you talk about the Hans Gruber stuff, you think about like their careers. Alan Rickman was probably thinking, "This is my shot. I'm going to give it everything," and delivered an absolutely sensational performance. Christopher Walken's just going, "Where am I going today? How much are they paying me?" Okay,
How many million? I'm there.
and he's still
He's
pretty
still-
damn good.
Well, he's out acting everyone else.
Yeah, and
Put it
as you
that way.
said, he's got no business being within 10 feet of the Rock in some sort of, physical confrontation, but you absolutely buy that he's in the position that he's in,
Yeah.
and that he's not a man to be trifled with.
Yeah, and I think he just brings a little bit of gravitas to it. I mean, you don't want gravitas in a film like this because it's so ridiculous, but you need to ground it in some way with a performance that you can get enjoyment out of.
Was it
And
the
we get
Tooth Fairy
enjoyment.
part that gave you the gravitas?
That was so good. Do you understand the concept of the Tooth Fairy?
That was
That shit's
awesome.
gold.
So
Absolute
good.
gold.
So good. The concept. What a guy. What a human.
He is awesome.
I actually think that the direction is pretty good. I think Peter Berg does a pretty good job. Action scenes are pretty clean and crisp, except for I think the first one, which we'll talk about later. But
I've
the rest
got
of
a
them
few issues with some of the choices with slow motion, use of slow motion.
There's a little bit too much of that,
and there's some very strange cutaways, but we'll get to that later on.
but I think he directs with a reasonable hand, and the action scenes work pretty well. Some of the fights are really good because they mix it up.
The martial arts one in the jungle with the little blokes,
That's
pretty
great.
cool. Yeah.
It's a really nice touch, a little slight change because again you've got the physical mismatch, but because he's on the bungee cords,
Yeah.
the Rock's
and because
just
he's a
getting
little
his ass
fucking
handed
weapon.
to him. Oh,
yeah.
it's the weapon.
Oh.
And the two guys with the whips.
Yeah.
That was another one that I thought was really good. Just a tweak on the regular action scene, throw in a couple of bit of whip cracking,
Yeah.
makes it a little bit different.
That fight, I actually had that as a like because,
The one in the jungle.
yeah, in my mind, I kind of described it as like the NBA Jam of action scenes. It's so over the top and ridiculous, but goddamn, it's fun.
Yeah, the laws of physics are on holiday for this one. But
Yeah, and it's a hell of a lot of fun, when they're swinging down on the ropes and kicking him, and he's flying about 15 meters and slamming into a tree. It's like it's really good fun to watch. It's one of the better set pieces. Totally ridiculous, but heaps of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tagging onto your heaps of fun thing, just a quick one. When they're in the bar and they all come in and he's first cuffed Sean William Scott's character and he's trying to walk him out, whatever, and they all walk in and say, you paid me, all that sort of stuff. And it's clearly going to be a blue, and then the midget exits. Fucking hell, man, I lost it. He just gets that, he's like, he sort of starts all the way, and everyone sort of stops and watches him.
I was going to say that. They kind of they give you the focus on it by stopping and
And he's just like shuffling
he
out the
runs
door.
past a couple of guys and they're both like watching him as he goes out the
Yeah.
door.
It reminded me of the scene in Game of Thrones when Tyrion comes in and he's dragging the chair for ages around to the head of the table. It's just so funny. And it's not just because they're both midgets. It's just this awkward, like, waiting for something that you normally wouldn't see in a movie. It was funny.
Look, I probably shouldn't laugh at humping monkeys, but I did giggle during the established dominance sequence where they're stuck up in the tree and the monkey leaps onto his face.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott's going, established dominance!
That was funny. It did feel a little bit Adam Sandler-ish to
It
me, though, as
did.
well. I'm like, oh, is this monkey's dick in his mouth? Like, I don't know what's happening here. This has gone downhill quick.
I forgot that the monkeys were humping.
Yeah.
I just assumed they attacked him because I
Yeah.
hadn't seen it for so
Because they
long.
look vicious. Yeah.
And then, as soon as he gets up there, and I just went, oh,
right in his
fuck, hang
face.
on, what have we done?
I was the same as you. You
But I giggled.
absolutely nailed it.
Yeah,
Adam
listen.
Sandler. It's ridiculous six kind of words.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did get a laugh out of that. Because
was
he
a
started
slight-
yelling
Or the
at
animal.
established dominance.
Had a bit of the animal in it.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott, before you
Whoa,
jump
whoa.
on anything about
Be
acting.
very careful.
Yeah, I'm going to tread carefully. I actually think him and The Rock have a bit of chemistry. Like, it's not, there's nothing to do with acting, but there's a kind of natural kind of, in those particular scenes, you could have seen a funnier script working
Oh, yeah.
really well, because him and...
Well, he doesn't really have a great deal of comedy to work with, which is what he needed.
No, and that's, I mean, it's, to me, I said this to Ad, I probably should save it for the dislikes, but just talking about the chemistry, I think they kind of go naturally together, and especially there's not a whole lot of development with their characters, so they're just working on the same plane for 80 minutes of a 90-minute bloody time frame. You could see it working a bit better, and those two together, I actually think, I watched the movie and I thought those two look like they actually kind of had fun together. So
I wouldn't doubt that.
It's
But
the
if you-
kind of thing, you could see something like 21 Jump Street or whatever, this Baywatch sort of thing that The Rock's got coming. It could work with someone like Sean William Scott because they do seem like they are riffing off each other
They're
reasonably
compatible,
well.
yeah.
There's just no comedy here.
No.
If your best bit is a thunder and lightning kick, you're in a terrible... And they roll that out, three times?
Are we leaping into that?
No, that's going to come in for some stick.
Any other likes then?
Yeah, I actually think that the fact that Marina kind of double crosses them to take the gato with the fruit, which is actually some sort of bloody apple, doesn't make your eyes bloody carry on, but whatever.
So it's not a real thing, that fruit?
No, the fruit is real, but it just doesn't
doesn't
do
have
that.
hallucinogenic
Just look
properties.
like a Granny Smith to me.
No, it's I can't remember what it's called. It's definitely one of the apples types, but it's really weird. Got a real weird look about it. Custard apple. That's
Custard
it.
apple, okay.
Custard apple. But I like the idea of her kind of double crossing them.
Yeah.
Because it was sort of a little bit unexpected because you felt that the three of them were in it together.
What was the point of her doing that? Because she said she's still going to send him the money.
Yeah,
I don't understand what she was gaining by doing
That's
it.
the negative to it all.
Yeah.
That there was no real payoff to it.
Yeah. Other than the fact that they then had to go and save her, I guess. That was the only way to get there. But
To be honest, I'd stopped caring about that thing. The
gato.
Well before any of that.
The devil's cat.
Hold.
Yes.
What else you got, mate?
Well, I was going to throw Rosario Dawson a bone because I thought you said she, like Christopher Walken, was the thing that sort of held it all together. He was the magnet, but I feel like she was the thing that grounded everything. She was actually like probably the best actual, just like I'm just acting a part and being a human being in this.
Yeah.
She's actually really good. Like
I'm a big fan. She's
Well,
got
never-
good
I
shit.
never had like I never had a huge appreciation for her until the Marvel stuff. And by the time they got to Iron Fist, I was kind of relieved to see her. I was like, yeah, she's really good.
She's
It
like an
just showed me
island
something
in
like
a
that.
very
Yeah.
bad river. Yeah, you just want to get to the island.
But I've come around a lot to her acting. I was never a huge fan, but I'm as
So you
of
haven't seen
now-
Alexander?
No.
Oh, don't watch Alexander. That wasn't. I thought. Okay, you guys were supposed to be. Okay, never mind.
I'd always thought she was all right. I really enjoyed her in that Denzel Washington one about the train.
Yep.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I think she's pretty good here. You're right. I think that she's probably the best performance. But
Again, there's a caveat.
Walken steals the show because
Of course he does, but he's much bigger. Yeah.
yeah. But she does a pretty good job.
Yeah. No, I'm a big
under
fan.
the circumstances because she's got nothing to work with either.
Yep.
As far as character development's concerned.
She's good in Sin City as well.
Yeah, true. I must admit, I did get a laugh when Beck gives Hatcher the two options. He comes to the camera and he goes, option A,
Yeah.
you just... Yeah, and option B is I come up and I kick your ass.
Yeah.
And everyone starts laughing in the room. And so Walker leans over and
He
turns
presses the button.
intercom on. So everyone can eat. So we can
Wrong
just hear it.
choice.
Yeah, everyone's just laughing at it. I thought that was
good.
pretty funny. And for me, the last thing for me was I think the finale's not bad. It really just
does the
ramps
job.
up into the punch-ups and the
And he starts
explosions
using
and
guns.
Yeah.
Although,
and it's got
what's this reloading with your biceps?
Oh, you know what?
package?
I actually like that. That was the kind of that's what this movie was. It was pure flash. Like, what's the Rock going to do here? Oh yeah, that looks pretty cool. He's got big muscles. He can flash and pump a few shotguns.
Yeah.
That worked for me.
But the whole finale was reasonably good. I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
It just kind of pulled it all into one big explosion.
Did you notice the stuntman with a striking resemblance to Tom Savini? I actually had to look it up for a
Sure,
second.
it wasn't Tom Savini?
I'd seen him prior, and he didn't quite look as much like Tom Savini, but then I thought it was a different bloke when he was getting blown away, and I was like, that might be Tom Savini. I had to have another look.
Did you like the pilot?
No,
look,
He was up and down. He was up and down. The whole.
I didn't hate him. I didn't hate him.
no.
Has that guy got an accent in real life, or is he
Yeah,
throwing that on?
He's Irish.
Yeah, I've seen him in something before. I just couldn't think what it was, but he's from somewhere in
Playing the bagpipe.
EU.
But he is basically, he's not really in it. Like, he's only in it for about 5 minutes.
He's set up as
isn't
like
he?
a sidekick sort of
He's pure
character.
comic relief, but he's not. Again, it's not.
No, I think
where's
he's
the
just
comedy?
relief. He's just relief, mate. He's not comic anything. And
Comic news.
to get into the dislikes,
Oh, we're there. Okay.
that is probably the biggest problem with this film. It's set up as a
Action comedy. Yeah.
It is not funny in one iota.
Except for the midget egg.
Walking.
Other than Christopher Walken and a couple of
Walken
little
and
giggles.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott is just...
He's painful.
He is just striking matches and just getting nothing.
Yeah.
He's getting no flame. He's just getting nowhere.
I think Vince McMahon just thought Stifler in the Jungle. This will work, and it doesn't.
Are we
at
sure
all.
that Vince McMahon did do an uncredited rewrite on this?
I'm sure he did somewhere. But no, like it's kind of what I was saying before about the chemistry. I think if somebody had written him some funny jokes, like I don't think he's a great actor, but he's got a lane. And in the American Pie movies, when he's got the material, he gets a few giggles off to the side. You know, in this there was nothing. It was like someone said, "Ad lib, Sean." Sean's not an ad lib type of guy.
he's
You know,
not.
you got to
Definitely
give
not.
him something.
He doesn't strike me as an intellectual. He's not
Mate.
going to start rolling out quality.
Thunder and lightning.
Wow.
You didn't. You barely got me the first time. You don't roll that shit out 3 times.
The first time got a snicker because he got punched in the face at the end of it. And as you said, you knew it was... After they did it the second time, you knew it was going to come out of the end.
As payoff.
As a payoff. But by Christ, I didn't want to cash that check. I didn't... like, it was just... I'd had enough of it. By the second time, I was like, yeah, that didn't work. And we're going to see it again. And I was
to
almost
me,
dreading
that
it.
That is the epitome of bad comedy. When you think that this shit is funny, that you're going to... Like, this is Adam Sandler comedy. It's Kevin James comedy.
Oh, now we're going there.
You take a joke...
Yeah.
It's Will Ferrell at times comedy. You take a joke and you just grind it into the ground, and nobody said to you, "This is not funny." Take it out.
Remember how they used to write... I heard somewhere they used to do the Simpsons episodes and they do table reads of the script, and if people stopped laughing at a joke by the last table read or whatever, they'd cut it.
Yeah.
That shit wouldn't have passed one fucking table read.
Hang on, was that a joke, guys? Get that out of here.
Yeah, like it's kind of...
It's just superfluous. It's really, really poor.
At least if you had let Will Ferrell do that, they'd have given him 10 takes and it'd have been 10 different things.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of them might have been funny.
Exactly.
But he can ad-lib some shit. Like, he could have rolled it out.
Exactly. But
It just
Sean
seems
William
like Sean
Scott,
William
you
Scott,
kind of...
that's not his style, or he's not very good at it.
No.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
But he was just caught between two worlds here because he was clearly trying to transition into the action, the action thing. He got in really good shape. Like, he was clearly pretty bulked up for this one. And as we discussed earlier, I think he'd just done Bulletproof Monk, or it was maybe just after this. Either way, they're both trying to move him into
Lord, he must have been... Couldn't wait to forget 2003.
Does he roll out the thunder and lightning thing in Bulletproof Monk as well? I feel like there might be something very similar.
Similar, maybe.
Yeah.
I have not watched that movie.
But he was trying to move over into that, and like you said, the Stifler thing is where he was probably most appropriate, and no one enjoyed Stifler, but he did get a giggle here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, even in that series, they lost the other actors. So American Pie 3 was like, yeah, let's ramp up the Stifler.
Show.
That's the worst one by a
it's
long
so
way.
bad.
You know?
Everyone's like, get this guy off the screen.
So he's got it. He's got
Is, in American Pie, he's a side character.
Yeah.
And he gets tons of laughs because we only see him for short stretches, and every time he cracks a joke,
He's got a funny line. Someone wrote a funny line. You know?
Plus, everyone had that guy at school that no one actually wanted to be friends with, but he was somehow still the cool guy that had all the good parties, and you'd put up with him, and everyone could relate to that.
Yeah, exactly.
And after a while, everyone's just like, why the fuck are they still around him? They're like 33 years old, and they still pretend to like this dickhead.
I had another couple of pieces where I know you got to turn your brain off, but in the bar, The Rock hits somebody, then dives behind a pool table. There are bullets flying everywhere. That table is full of holes. The guy's huge, and he does not get a scratch on him.
I don't know, mate. That's pretty tough felt on top of
that. Right. It's obviously made
actually made of Kevlar.
It's like, oh, God. Like, you know, again, I understand that this is not a film where you want to say, well, where's the reality here? But it just takes away, like, when a movie's sort of not quite, it's just a 3-star.
Not even trying? Is that what you're saying?
You feel like they're just lasered it up.
Yeah.
They're just sort of going, oh, yeah, look, don't worry, nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
And you start picking away at those little bits.
Yeah, and it does. It builds up and you start to get bothered by it. The fight that we talked about, where they're in the jungle, the laws, as I said earlier on, the laws of physics are completely absent from that fight. These two little guys swing down on vines when the Rock's laying on the ground. He probably still weighs 50% more than the two of them together. And they swing down and they grab his feet and somehow lose no impetus whatsoever and launch him 40 metres through the forest. If that had happened, they would have gone down, grabbed his feet and just stopped dead, and he would have just picked him up and crushed him. Like,
not to mention his head would have split like a coconut by the time he hit the
There's just so many things. Like when they drive the Jeep over the cliff and they're rolling down and they're hitting... like, those two guys are dead.
Oh, look.
They're in a pole...
If they're not dead, they're in serious trouble.
Physics is one thing, but the stupidity of that plan is another.
I'm going to escape by killing myself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to run this over a cliff. Excellent.
That said, though, Peter Berg rolled it out again in Lone Survivor, the old really painful trip down a cliff.
That was allegedly real.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the sequence is eerily similar.
Yeah, it is.
Because clearly someone's done that and fucked themselves up for a paycheck. You know, props, but Jesus.
You've gotten into specifics a little bit. I'll get into some overarching issues.
Overarching issues.
Again, you're talking about we're talking about the turning the brain off at the door, and I think for me it's a margin of error. It's not going to dull my enjoyment because I've come to expect this from action movies. But then at the same time, the diehards and the predators get this shit right, which is sort of the other side of it. So the exposition is just clunky as shit. I mean, The Rock flat out says, I want out. I want a new life. I mean, fuck. Is there not a better way we could have got that in there?
I want my money so I can buy my restaurant.
I keep opening his little book and looking at
they tried it with the porcini mushrooms, and I was sitting there thinking, why is it? Okay, so he's got the porcini mushrooms. He's going to cook something. But then that's a tenuous fucking link to I want to stop being a hitman and open a restaurant.
Because I like food,
it's
but no
poorly
experience
done.
as a chef. Yeah, I don't know.
And the other one is just...
kill people for a living.
Still does, for all we know. Fucking psychopath.
The whole plot is just... It's written on... As I said to you the other day, it's written on a napkin, and it's not... It's a cocktail napkin. It's not like a napkin. It's just
anything.
The whole movie is just it's jumping from one little sort of scene to another.
Actually, I think it might be. I think it might be written on Vince McMahon's head.
Tiny ones. Him and Donald Trump shaking hands is hilarious. Just like two dolls high fiving.
Oh God.
I totally agree. It's just there's exposition left and right. The plot is just ridiculous. The whole thing about the gutto is just wasted. Like, what?
Didn't care at all for the gutto.
What's that got to do with anything in the film?
It's like, okay, so we got the MacGuffin, but then I don't give a shit. Like, just hurry up and find that thing and get out of the way.
But including probably the worst scene in the film.
Yeah.
Where they go and find the gutto.
Yeah.
And there's that.
Boulders.
All the sticks and the boulders and that, and then it's supposed to be a puzzle.
Wait! Behind the wall of a moving curtain.
Oh,
mind blown, guys! How did he crack that? And how did he know it's that waterfall? It's the only one that let him.
Tons of them in the area.
Fuck me dead. That's dumb.
But
that's like one of those riddles from the old Batman TV show.
Can anyone tell me why he needed a boat to get there? He could have just walked down a hill.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
that just
Even
makes,
better,
makes for
he could have driven his
driven-
team off. He would have been there, you know. 2
He
seconds
could have just
flat.
rolled down it.
Got up, dusted himself off. Here it is, guys.
But the dumbest thing about that whole sequence is the boulders are slipping and the Rock's trying to hold it up, and then he goes, "Oh, the Jaguars. You remove the sticks from the
Gato's
Jaguars
a cat.
and you can get through." And I'm thinking, who gives a shit? The whole thing's going to
exactly.
collapse.
Yeah.
So why are we interested in Jaguars?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Just
Just
hold it up.
run through there, haul ass, get it, and come
Yeah,
back.
the other thing too is missed opportunity is the Rock's there for his muscles. Why didn't you have him actually hold up one of the boulders for a second?
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, that scene is just pulp, and you've missed probably the thing that I might have actually thought, oh yeah, that's all right. Like, it was so bad. So
them
bad.
escaping, like just continuation of that same scene. But when they're running out after the thing's exploding, the special effects in that sequence are so poor. Rosario Dawson clearly gets cut in half by boulders, and she's unscathed when she exits. She's fine. She just ran, guys, so she was okay. It makes no sense.
Oh dear.
My only other real dislike, but again, it's a huge dislike, is that just the comedic stuff just never finds any traction anywhere. Like, forget
None.
just Sean William Scott, just in general, it doesn't find any ground. So
There's a couple of parts where you crack a smile, but there's no laughs.
plus it's lowbrow.
is.
It's lowbrow. You know, you got humping monkeys. You got the old classic of Beck doesn't speak the language, so what I'll do is I'll tell him that he's a one of Hatch's guys, and I'll make a few jokes at his expense. It's lazy, mate. We've seen this sort of shit 1,000 times.
If it wasn't for Walken, that stuff wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like Walken carried that off.
He carries all that stuff off because it's the only thing saving any of it from being just like, I would have been screaming at the TV if that's a guy like Walken's not in there. The ham factor's not there. So I'm having a bit of fun with it. But it just never finds its feet.
How many times does Sean William Scott want to roll out the shut up?
Oh, God.
Like, every time the Rock would say something to him, he'd be shut up, and then it'd be shut up again. That was the best line he had.
But there's a sequence in the middle where they're traipsing through the forest, and between the two of them, it's either shut up or keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep moving. Keep moving. I'm just
Mate,
like,
we wasted
fucking
5
hell,
minutes.
what are we doing?
We wasted 5 minutes on
Him trying to get his dick out with handcuffs
I didn't
on.
even think about this before, but Gibbo has just absolutely nailed it with the Adam Sandler. We wasted 5 minutes on, you got to take my dick out of my pants so I can go to the toilet.
Yeah, bulletproof anybody?
It's just so bad.
I got piss on me.
Like, if you,
Sandler.
I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of it all.
I've got to say, I watched it with my little bloke, and watching Sean William Scott try and get his dick out with his hands behind his back with the head gestures and that my little bloke lost his shit.
Yeah.
But he's 6. So
That tells you what. Yeah,
But that's the kind of mentality we're talking about.
It is.
It's a
from the
movie.
comedy.
It's a movie that a 6-year-old wouldn't have been able to get into at the cinema because of the rating. But that's the comedy that we're running with, you know. Like, yeah, it was a bit of a misfire there.
I actually think it would have been better off not even thinking about comedy, making it strictly action. And it was really, forget the gutto. It was just simply he was after him.
It would
And
have
he was
actually
in the
worked.
jungle.
It would have actually worked just a down the line action up with a little bit of Indiana Jones, like, adventure type.
Well, that's the other thing. That whole sequence with the Jaguar, I think, is as dumb as it is. It's also so out of place.
Yeah,
he solves no puzzles before. There's no proof that he's got any
Actually,
kind of
you're right.
academia.
It
He
wouldn't have
drops
worked.
out of Stanford.
It wouldn't have worked.
No, it wouldn't.
Well, with Vince McMahon writing, it's not going to work.
Genius.
Any other dislikes?
Well, I
Major dislikes?
alluded to it earlier on when we were talking about that we're in the like section. The first action sequence where he's fighting the NFL team, just the strobe lights and the cut, like the quick cuts and stuff in that fight scene, it was a little bit iron fisty for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of noticing that stuff more and more. Also,
Which is weird because you'd think this is the Rock's bread and butter. This is why he's here, to throw down.
Minus that,
Why
that
are we
scene
cutting
was,
around it?
That scene was a really good idea. Like, even the way that they introduced the football
it's still
players. with
fine.
their-
It's just
kind of-
I'm just being picky with fight scenes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't love the fight scene all that much, other than the rock bottom. pretty
So
much,
many of them are done really well nowadays that you see the ones done like that, and it's like,
Yeah.
it could have been better. When they first get to the mine and stuff, and they're sort of introducing the Hatcher character, there's this whole weird sequence of like cutaways to like revolvers and people, but like it's really like strange and slow motion whip rollouts and just fucking weird shit. And it's like, what is happening? It's kind of surreal.
It's like Clint Eastwood didn't get in the director's chair for a day or two, did he?
It's just it's out of place again. When they're in the forest and they've had the little fight and they're all sitting around having a little kumbaya session, next minute there's fucking motorbikes and buggies and stuff within about 15 metres of the camp that made no sound getting there. That's nonsensical.
They pushed them up.
They just rolled them down the hill, mate. They turned the engine off and just rolled them off the hill.
It just, like, how did they get there? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. So, yeah, and we keep saying you got to turn your brain off, but you shouldn't have to turn it, like, you shouldn't have to remove it from your head. And that's what a lot of that comes to.
It's established that I already did that. So.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
I actually had two more.
Two more.
As stated before, I am now a card-carrying member of the Rosario Dawson fan club, and I like the performance in this, but the accent, it's a little bit Dracula, kind of Transylvanian.
I want to take your blood. Is that what you're insinuating?
Yeah, I don't. Look, I'm not going to profess to be some sort of expert on dialects of the region.
Give us your Portuguese accent.
If anyone remembers our attempts at Sean Connery 40 episodes back, you suggested we don't know a lot about the accent front.
I'm only borrowing your Humvee.
Yeah, that's as I said, I'm no expert, but it sounded a little bit off to me.
Yeah, look, that's probably the one letdown for her.
There was one in the bar. There was one scene where she sounded like the Count from Sesame Street.
How
many beers would you like?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And the last one was the Scottish bloke. I didn't necessarily have him himself as a dislike. I thought he was tolerable. I thought the coffee was tolerable for the first.
Tolerable.
I thought he was all right. Like when he's flying the plane to that, I actually found that a bit funny. When
the
he's,
duct
he's
tape and
telling
that
him
shit,
about the duct tape. And he's gibbering away to the rock, and the rock's basically like, "What the fuck are you saying?"
Yeah,
like that was
there's bulls on the runway and that sort of shit.
yeah, that was funny. But the bit at the end in the finale.
Where he sits down and starts talking
and he's almost commentating it. I thought to myself, this reminds me of one of those beer ads in the 90s where they tried to get all artsy and I didn't know what was going on. He was talking about, like I've forgotten what he was talking about.
Yeah, the fire and the lightning and all this.
Or the big speech after he does the bagpipes. Cornelius Archer! Like that shit,
I was just sitting there going, what's actually going on here now?
Yeah, it just seemed out of place.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's like, I'm not getting involved, this isn't my fight. Next minute he's fucking walking in, calling him out in front of everyone.
And then he's sitting down, commentating the action.
Yeah, in the middle of a blazing gunfight. As you said, the bullets again, they're not hitting anything.
Except for Thomas me.
This is the Brandon Lee kind of action scene. This is what you want to be involved in, Brandon.
Stray stunt crew member getting hit with a bullet.
Is that everyone's dislikes?
That's it for me.
All right. That is Welcome to the Jungle. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook, Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. Next episode, Reanimator. Can't wait for it. Haven't seen it in years, looking forward to it. Obviously, Gibbo, you'll be,
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't think I'm going to like you guys very soon.
In, mate.
But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.